Yes, Hermione. I think this is gonna be exactly like wizard chess.
Welcome to MsMojo, and today we're counting down instances where the Harry Potter movies utilised practical effects rather than solely relying on CGI.
I think the ability to put something that is a fantasy creature in front of people is actually the joy, it's the kick I get.
Number 10. Mad Eye Moody's Mad Eye. Various.
But here's the rub. How do we sort out the liars?
Whoever suggested Brendan Gleeson to play Alistair Moody certainly had an eye for casting. As well suited as the Irish actor was for the role, the irritable Aura's look would have been incomplete without his all-seeing magic eye.
There's something odd wrong with the peripheral vision to his left side. The doctors don't quite know what's wrong, but he's made this magic eye for himself that can see out through the back of his head and see in various different directions.
Chris Barton, who got his start at Jim Henson's Creature Shop in 1987, was the wizard behind this animatronic. While CGI was used in some shots, most of what we see on screen is practical, with the eye being radio controlled. Barton compared the effect to a contact lens, as the eye itself didn't move, but the pupil was given a life of its own. The effect was achieved utilising a small magnet inside the brass holder. Whenever the magnet link broke, the eye would fall out.
End of story. Goodbye, the end. Any questions?
Number 9. The Letters from No One. Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
Ooh, sir, not one blasted miserable...
Determined to keep Harry in the dark about his wizardly heritage, the Dursleys attempt to suppress his acceptance letters from Hogwarts. Not even Sunday can stop Harry from getting the memo. However, it isn't long until 4 Privet Drive is flooded with letters, entering through the chimney and the front door's mail slot.
Give me that! Give me that letter!
When special effects supervisor John Richardson suggested filling the set with actual letters, director Chris Columbus had his doubts.
There's not a visual effect in that sequence. Those are all real letters flying around the room. But it gave you a real sense of practical magic.
Richardson's team worked their magic though, devising a series of devices around the set that could swiftly propel the envelopes into the air.
We had printed 25,000 envelopes, all addressed to Harry Potter, and we built 6 letter firing rigs.
One letter firing rig was specifically designed to hit Mr. Dursley in the face. Thousands of letters were printed for the scene, none of them CGI. Number 8. Aunt Marge Enlarged. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
Shut up! Shut up! Right. Let me tell you.
Have you ever had a nasty relative you wish would just float out of your life? Well, float might be oddly specific, but makes for a fun visual in the case of Aunt Marge. Harry can handle Marge insulting him, although when she speaks ill of his parents, he inflates her like a balloon.
In this film, there's a major stand towards the Dursleys, with Aunt Marge getting inflated by a spell that I don't even try to do it.
For this hair-raising dinner scene, actress Pam Ferris wore a series of prosthetic inflatable suits, reaching an estimated maximum of 4.5 feet wide. Ferris couldn't eat or walk while wearing this 50-pound outfit, at one point passing out due to the heavy latex.
Because the good bit is when you take it off at the end of the long working day and you look comparatively okay underneath and you think, I'm not so bad after all.
Even Marge's ascension into the sky was executed practically using wires. Although those wires were removed using CGI, the scene otherwise relied on no digital effects. Number 7. The Marauder's Map. Harry Potter and the Prisoner of Azkaban.
I solemnly swear that I am up to no good.
Messrs Moody, Wormtail, Padfoot and Prongs are proud to present the Marauder's Map.
Naturally, animation was used for certain aspects of the Marauder's Map, which provides a layout of Hogwarts and its inhabitants.
Physically, that was what I set myself up to do, was to try and have something that felt like you could unfold it at any point and there would always be another bit that you could discover.
However, to make the map come alive, the filmmakers turned to a professional illusionist, Paul Keeve. The only magician to work on any of the films, Keeve was responsible for the astronomy room's floating spheres in Prisoner of Azkaban. Most notably, Keeve was behind the scene where the map folds itself, utilising threads that needed to be carefully pulled in a specific order.
With tiny, tiny threads that had to be pulled in a certain order in a certain way.
Mischief managed.
Keeve made a brief cameo in the film as well, playing a Three Broomsticks patron with a candlestick trick up his sleeve. He might not be a household name like Dumbledore, but Keeve is a real-life wizard.
Until then, mischief managed.
Number 6. Fawkes, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. To make Fawkes fly and perform other specific tasks, CGI proved necessary.
Amazing! This is just like magic!
For Harry's first encounter with Dumbledore's faithful Phoenix, though, creature effects supervisor Nick Dudman and his team constructed an animatronic. Actually, multiple animatronics. First, there was the aging Fawkes on the verge of catching fire. Then there was the reborn Fawkes that rises out of the ashes. When Richard Harris came across the Fawkes animatronic on set, it proved so convincing that the Dumbledore actor thought it was a real, incredibly well-trained bird. The crew didn't immediately tell Harris it was a puppet, but when they did, he summed up his shock with a profanity.
Richard Harris comes over to us and he says, "It's absolutely amazing how they train these things, isn't it?" Chris and I stood there for a minute and thought, I said, no, it's a puppet. And he went, bleep off.
Although Daniel Radcliffe was in the know, the look of awe on Harry's face is genuine.
There's this magical thing that happens with kids who are that young. They really were able to tap into that wonder.
Fawkes the Phoenix was a lovely thing to do because it was a complete creature.
Number 5. Wizard's Chess, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone.
It's chessboard.
On the heels of winning 3 Oscars, production designer Stuart Craig received 5 more nominations for bringing the wizarding world to life.
What's pleasing about what we've done and what we're continuing to do is the number of children especially who said, oh, it's just like I imagined it would be.
Set and action!
This is no graveyard.
Among his most impressive achievements was the giant wizard chessboard in Philosopher's Stone. This set was comprised of 32 sculpted pieces which stretched 12 feet high and weighed at most 500 pounds. Outside of a few movements that required digital effects, the filmmakers attempted to pull off this scene as practically as possible. Pieces would be moved across the chessboard through radio control.
Well, white moves first, and then we play.
Even many of the explosions on screen were done without CG, instead using compressed air. This includes Ron's sacrifice.
That was really exciting because I got to sit on the horse. I remember really enjoying that. And actually, the coolest thing about it was when the pieces got smashed, because they actually exploded.
The horse was destroyed in the process, but Rupert Grint picked up a piece of debris as a souvenir. Number 4. Hagrid's height. Various.
How am I doing my first day?
Brilliant, Professor.
Casting doesn't get more pitch perfect than the late Robbie Coltrane as Hagrid. Standing 6'1", Coltrane was often the tallest actor on screen. With Hagrid being 8'6" in the books, though, the filmmakers conceived a few clever visual tricks to make Coltrane a half-giant.
Joe was a tiny little feller, my dad. I could pick him up at the age of 6 with one hand and put him up in the dresser. You laugh so hard at that.
Coltrane's costume weighed 65 pounds, with boots that added several inches. Some sets and props were smaller to make Coltrane seem larger. The designers even constructed 2 versions of Hagrid's hut, one to accommodate Coltrane and another for the shorter characters. In addition to playing a young Hagrid, former rugby player Martin Bayfield stood in for Coltrane during certain shots, specifically those where we don't get a close-up of Hagrid's face. A little false perspective can go a long way.
First years, come this way, please. Come on now.
But as with all good visual tricks, it's a mixture. Sometimes you can do it in camera.
Number 3. The Basilisk. Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets. The Basilisk is another fantastic beast that was realised through a mix of CG and practical effects. Sometimes the giant snake is digital, but the creature crew also constructed a 25-foot mechanical model for Daniel Radcliffe to interact with. Although the effects team only made the top half of the Basilisk, they built it to scale with a mouth that could open 30 feet wide and jaws 3 feet deep.
I felt that a gigantic snake needed to be mostly CGI. But Nick Dudman was very persuasive that a realistic giant mechanical version of the Basilisk could be very useful, for Dan's performance.
Along with its realistic head, complete with moving eyes and nostrils, the model could slither after Radcliffe as well. When Harry faces off against the Basilisk with the Sword of Gryffindor, Radcliffe isn't stabbing thin air where a CGI puppet will be added later.
This is the one that Dan actually stabbed through the roof of the mouth. It's still got all the stuff in it. It has nostril flare and it can open its mouth, and its tongue moved and its eyes moved.
Thankfully, the Basilisk's venom wasn't real, even if its fangs were. Number 2. 19 years later. Harry Potter and the Deathly Hallows Part 2.
Bag.
Yeah.
Jumper. I miss you.
Here they come.
Digital technology has gotten to the point where actors can not only be de-aged on screen, but made to appear older as well. Of course, the results have been hit and miss. For that reason, we're glad the final film's epilogue went the practical makeup route.
I need to miraculously look 38? Yep. 38. Done lots of publicity and interviews. It feels like suddenly everyone's aware that this is coming to an end. And
Director David Yates briefly considered turning to CGI when early footage of the cast in their makeup leaked. While some subtle digital effects would be incorporated, Yates still felt makeup was the way to go, asking Nick Dudman's team to modify the designs for reshoots.
And action!
Together.
The revised makeup effects helped earn Dudman, Amanda Knight, and Lisa Tomlin an Oscar nomination. The practical approach added a personal touch to this emotional goodbye. Before we unveil our top pick, here are a few honourable mentions. Gringotts Vaults and Chamber of Secrets doors, various. Those complicated locks really moved.
And it actually travels all the way around the outside of the door. And as it does so, all of these snakes, which are supposed to be the locks for the door, they all retract.
Illuminated wands, various. Wands could light up without even saying Lumos.
I have to tell you, for the actors it's hard, because green screen is not the easiest thing to key off if you're trying to find a performance.
Weasley chores, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, making the most mundane tasks magical.
It's not much, but it's home.
I think it's brilliant.
Devil's Snare, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone, a large puppet with terrifying tentacles.
Stop moving, both of you. This is Devil's Snare. You have to relax. If you don't, it'll only kill you faster.
Kill us faster? Oh, now I can relax.
Levitating Feather, Harry Potter and the Philosopher's Stone. It's amazing what you can do with a fishing pole and a feather.
It really was simplicity, because we had a fishing rod and a feather, and you could make the feather dance. So when she held the wand underneath it, I just had to follow the wand.
Before we continue, be sure to subscribe to our channel and ring the bell to get notified about our latest videos. You have the option to be notified for occasional videos or all of them. If you're on your phone, make sure you go into your settings and switch on notifications.
Number 1. Aragog, Harry Potter and the Chamber of Secrets, and Harry Potter and the Half-Blood Prince.
You're Aragog, aren't you?
Yes.
Working on Chamber of Secrets, Nick Dudman singled out the giant spider Aragog as the most difficult creature to crack. If poorly executed, a talking spider could come off as too silly. The results were spine-chilling, however, giving Rupert Grint a panic attack.
Goodbye, friend of Hagrid.
Can we panic now?
Weighing roughly 1,500 pounds and reaching 9 feet tall, the Aragog model required a different crew member to control each of its legs, which spanned 18 feet.
They made an exact replica of what a spider would look like, right down to the hairs and the legs. And the mouth is one of the most repulsive things you've ever seen in your lives. It's just about your worst nightmare come true.
Since the spider kicks the bucket in Half-Blood Prince, the team needed to make a whole new model. With Hagrid present this time around, the crew had to build a second smaller Aragog as well. At least these models didn't have to move around, but they were even more detailed than the first model.
Made them completely differently because I wanted to be able to get light to come through the legs. I wanted it to be translucent.
Which acts of practical magic stood out to you? Let us know in the comments.
I love magic.
Do you agree with our picks? Check out this other recent clip from MsMojo. And be sure to subscribe and ring the bell to be notified about our latest videos.